What's up everybody, Hillbilly Harvester here. Got another special video for you today on conveyor belts. First thing I use when I go into the conveyor belt system is this pickup right here, the Fs19. I'm going to put a star orange color because I already have a couple of them. And then download this fill trigger conveyor belt. It's the modded version of the in-game conveyor. This one's going to allow you to fill up from the silos like this. The main question that I've had was, how do I fill up this particular pit? The first thing that I'll recommend you guys do is obviously the conveyor belts. If you're going to use them, get that fill trigger one. And then I use these edge grain silos, the placeable fill silo. You can buy any material from them. And then basically what I'm going to do is use total mix ration for my pit, just because that's what I like to use. You guys don't have to use TMR, you can use any material that you guys want. I just think it looks closest to dirt, and it's got decent prices for it, buying and selling. Just don't use a material, especially if you're going to use seasons. Don't use hay or straw or grass, something that is going to wither away with the weather. So I'm having a little trouble right here. It looks like when we spawned in, I got a little out of whack. So I gotta back up here real quick so I can get to the fill trigger so we can get going here. Now the first things that you guys are gonna notice is that there's gonna be a fill height if I swing over the pit here from this position. It's not going to want to fill automatically. You're going to want to press both bumpers once you get it loaded. Both bumpers and Y if you're on Xbox, or triangle on PS4 to unload here. And then if it still doesn't unload, you may have to adjust the height, because there is a maximum fill height or ceiling on these maps. You guys are also going to notice that you're going to have to click the left stick twice in order to fully load the conveyor belt from the silo. That's because there's two pieces. We're using the actual conveyor belt itself and that loading piece. So the first click you guys are going to have to do is going to fill the first Lizard S110. You guys can kind of see you don't have to be backed up to it or connected to it right here for them to work. I like to hook them up to each other just because it's all one unit then. But when you guys are filling it, you have to click it twice. One to load the S710, and the next one will allow it to fill the rest of the conveyor belt. As you see right here, this conveyor belt is loaded, and I actually loaded it off of that next conveyor belt to the right. It hasn't started dumping yet because I haven't pressed the button to unload here, and I just did there. If I would have tried to unload with it way up over in the middle, it wouldn't have, because of that ceiling height. And then once you guys kind of have it loaded, you can move around a little bit back and forth and swing it around. And then if you guys notice here, I'm actually picking up off of this pile from way over here. I'm actually just on the edge of it, so it kind of looks like we're glitching out a little bit. And my ramp's not all the way touching the floor, but that doesn't really matter on that far one. Just to kind of show you guys, yeah, I'm using those other two. I'm using basically that pile to feed those other two conveyors, and then I'm using this one as a secondary fill. So while I have to use that first conveyor to use a pot to make a pile to use these two conveyors, it's going to be faster than using a truck, especially if you guys are going by yourself. So I actually get a little bit closer to that conveyor just to help it a little bit. I turn the wheels, and then we're going to position ourselves back over. Now to get the conveyor to stop, all I did was both bumpers and pressed unload here, or stop unload here. And then I'm able to move just with the gas and brake once you fold it. The control system's kind of a pain once you get these conveyors hooked up together, because of the different control groups and the two different attachments. You are going to have controls that will allow you to raise and lower the S710 piece, and then you're going to have a separate control group that is going to control the folding, the angle, and your up and down motion of this main conveyor belt. If you fold the wheels, that's how we're going to get it to turn, and then if we're hooked up to the S710 piece, that's actually a little pivot, and we just keep on trucking basically. And then you can kind of sit in here and make your swings and fill the areas that you guys want to, and just kind of guide it in. You guys can go get in other pieces of equipment to move this stuff, which we'll do in a minute. I want to go over a couple more things with these conveyors. You can kind of see how I'm walking through here, how all the conveyors are lined up with each other, and those second two are actually feeding off of that little stockpile. So let me stop that real quick and we'll go replenish this stockpile. And this is how we're going to get so much constant fill basically going into the pit. Even if it's just me, while this isn't the fastest, if I were to have 3 belts running, even though it's only one silo feeding this, and pushing the material with a machine and just making sure these 3 belts stay running is going to be plenty of work for me, and it's going to fill up decently quick. I think the fastest we did it was between 3 to 6 people. It did take us like 14 hours, and that's running conveyor belts and semi trucks, dump trucks, and just cruising. I did want to make sure you guys know kind of the startup sequence while I get in a little machine here real quick. We want to have the motor for the main conveyor belt on, you know, that way we can make sure we're able to swing back and forth. We want to have the belt extended and obviously in the position to where we want the material to be dumped. And then once it's loaded and the conveyor belt's turned on and the belt attachment, the S710, that belt is turned on so it picks up from the ground. We want to press unload here, and that should unload onto the ground for you guys. If you're trying to use a belt to load a truck, you guys can just back up under the conveyor belts with the load in it from the silo, and it will fill up the truck automatically. You guys probably saw just a minute ago I tried using that NMC U-blade to see if it would push this material. It did not. I had heard differently. This is just kind of the first little test that I've actually done with the crawler loader. Kind of had a weird little bucket thing going on with it filling and stuff. I'll have to kind of test it a little more. But I was just doing this to kind of show you guys, you know, you guys can go in here and move the material, move the conveyor belts. Once we get to this kind of position up here, there will be a max fill height, like I said earlier with the ceiling. The material stops. Once the conveyor belt gets loaded again, the silo will automatically shut off by itself. The only reason it came out while I swung was because there was no material left, so it was filling. So it stopped the conveyor belt because the material was full on the ground and it was at the maximum fill height. In order to get around that, I need to build the stockpile around it. But because I'm doing a little stockpile to fill up this farther area away from my silo that I'm using, we're going to use these 2 conveyors on the left side that are going to feed off of that pile that we just filled up while we were messing around in the other machine or whatever we were doing. And I'll throw up some screenshots here of the previous job that I've done. You can tell this one I've actually put the conveyor belts on the closer side to this, and I'm going off of the railroad side tracks instead of this this left side over here in this picture. You can kind of see that's the maximum fill height that we're going to get to on the bottom and on the sides, and then one last one with it all the way full, and we're about getting ready to dig out. I hope this helps you guys out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you all for watching again. and I hope y'all have a real good night.